Sheriff in town here as we're getting ready to break down here on the Metal Steel podcast. Of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey. It is Arthur Smith. Steelers who have interviewed three candidates so far. Knew this was going to be a top priority going into the off season, as we knew for this year that was going to be very critical for any team success as long as Mike Tomlin continues to still be the head coach of this team. And right now, it's some mixed reviews to say the least. I'll get to my thoughts in just a second, but I gotta imagine it can't be any worse than what Matt Canada was doing. But let's just say for right now, it seems to fit their style, what Mike Tomlin wants, and the Steelers as an organization. And once again, I'm Charles the Prodigy Richie. You can follow me on my Twitter X at MassSteelCGR. Like I said, we got Arthur Smith who comes in, who had a real good coaching experience, who actually began his coaching background in the NFL since 2011, or actually 2007, excuse me. And other than that, he's been to the collegiate level two times. He started off his career early, three different occasions as defensive quality assistant and control with Washington, and then where he had like a long track record with the Tennessee Titans for about 10 seasons. And you hear little rave reviews coming from his former cohorts right here. After we look at one former offensive coordinator for the Steelers, and Bill Cowher, who wanted to become a head coach in this league with the Cardinals, and I believe then the Titans, Ken Wisenhunt, who was actually called the plays for the Steelers from 2004 to 2006 in Ben's first three seasons. And Ken had this to say. He was saying after having been a head coach, he's seen a lot of different things. And he understands what he's up against in terms of preparing and calling plays. You bring in a guy who can help stabilize the quarterback position. I think he'll fit in well there. And we'll see about that. I think, when you look at the quarterbacks that he's had to work with over his tenure here, I mean, when you look at everything that he's been able to do as far as like the Tennessee Titans are concerned, I mean, you think of the names too, like, I mean, during his time in Tennessee, where you look at, I mean, the names, pretty impressive names. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say, I mean, there's a few hiccups in there. But I mean, when you look at, I mean, he had to deal with, let's see, I mean, for the most part, he dealt with guys where he had decent success with Ryan Tannehill, where he was calling plays for about two seasons. But before then, he started off with Matt Halsbeck, going on to Jake Locker, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's a guy who's bouncing around in his NFL career for different teams. Still a pretty darn good thrower. Then he also had Zach Mettenberger, too, former Steeler quarterback. And also, he was dealing with about four seasons with Marcus Mariota. But you look at Arthur Smith right there, like who I mentioned, he started off technically as defensive quality control. But then also, too, once you had like the Tennessee Titans right there back in it here, too, it all began when Mike Munchak, he would later become a Steelers offensive line coach. He hired him as defensive quality coach in 2011. A year later, Smith became an offensive quality control coach. And when Munchak was fired at the 2013 season, Wisenhunt was promoted to assistant tight ends coach at the behest of Malarkey, the tight ends coach. As you know, he went on to join the Steelers back in 2014, I believe it was. And we said right here, according to Wisdom, he was very good at trying to learn the details of the position, talking to players, interacting with them. according to Wisdom Hut. You could tell he was a smart guy. And pretty much, I mean, you look at this guy right now. I mean, you look at a guy like Arthur Smith coming into the situation right now where now they want to keep the momentum of the run game going with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, who's been gaining steam late in the season. Really been doing good down the stretch, especially Najee right there, who actually started off real slow. And don't forget, he was dealing with a list frank injury the last 2 seasons right now. But just for the most part, he always just seemed, for whatever reason, be a slow starter. Uh, you look at a guy like Arthur Smith, it's going to pretty much almost be similar to like Steelers organization, what they know in the past. I mean, there's a couple people comparing it to like 90s Steeler football or like what Bill Cowher would do as far as like, attacking, like the line of scrimmage right there, tagging defenses, waiting for them to make mistakes. I mean, basically, he'll be, and also too, Mark Malarkey, Mike Malarkey, who was a former Steelers tight end, who was offensive coordinator from 2001 to 2003, wanted to become a head coach different years for franchises. He says there will be a lot of things going on trying to make a defense stay on their toes. And like I just mentioned, if one makes a mistake, they'll pay for it. Oh, and one other thing Malarkey said, it's all about the physical part, being the guy across from you to a pulp. And all my team meetings and tight end meetings, whether he picked it up from me or not, I don't know. That's what he believes in. And that's the only thing I could say right now. I mean, you look at like currently like his ranks right now to Smith to try get a chance to try do similarly what he did with the Titans. They were ranked third in total yards per game, 396.4. They were fourth in points at 30.7 in his final season with them, which eventually saw them get eliminated by the Baltimore Ravens in the wild card round. It was a rematch from the year prior when the Titans uh, one and done the Ravens, the top seed in the AFC in the divisional round. He did all, of course, no secret with running back Derrick Henry, who led the league with 2,027 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns, and quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who was fifth in passer rating, 106 and a half, and tied for seventh in touchdowns, 33. Now, when you go over to the Falcons right there, here's a big drop off right there. 3 straight seasons, which got him fired. 7 and 10 seasons. 24th, 14th, and 19th for an average of 22nd, where his ranks come at right there, which was not really good right there. I mean, when you look at everything that he's been able to do, I mean, basically, I mean, it was definitely a sad drop off right there for him, no doubt about it. I mean, he'll admit that. I mean, for the most part, but I mean, still, I mean, you look at a guy like Arthur Smith right here, who's coming into this situation right now, and just trying to get something positive going right now for the most part, and trying to see what they could be able to manage to pull off right now. I mean, a lot of people are like really a little stunned right there. Only just 3 candidates they revealed on Friday that they have interviewed 2 people prior to him. One was Texans quarterbacks coach Gerard Johnson and Panthers offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. Everywhere he's been at, his teams have ranked top 10 in rushing yards. So, I mean, the only concern I have right here, when you look at everything we just read off right here, how much more is he going to be working with the quarterback room right now? Because more particularly, Kenny Pickett, who Art Rooney pretty much called out a little bit as far as like needing to get better. I mean, he didn't say it like a negative way, you know, but I mean, he did kind of put him on notice when he was doing his State of the Steelers address, uh, which you can find on YouTube right there. basically look at who was talking with Rob King of the Steelers Radio Network, but also too, I mean Mason Rudolph, I mean who's going to be becoming an unrestricted free agent, and then Mitch Trubisky. It doesn't sound like the door is totally slammed shut on him right now. I mean, he could possibly still be on this roster right now, which I'm really skeptical. I think he'll just be the main two guys. But at the same time, too, if we're going to be talking about this offensive core there, too, I mean, and what you're trying to work with, and I mean, the main thing is right now, too, I mean, you need to get these guys to like buy it, how they're going to buy into this plan right now. I mean, it's going to take some time. I mean, obviously, I don't expect anything to happen, like early in the first year, but I would expect to see something figured out throughout the season. I imagine it's going to be a little bit of a tough sled at first, but I do feel like they're going to try and establish an identity. I mean, for a Steelers team who still prides itself, I mean, right now, I mean, just being in the playoffs, I mean, which is great. You always still find a way to get a ticket to the dance, to either be competing for it, making the playoffs, but then trying to get to the next step, winning playoff games once again. The thing is, we continue to remind how quarterback play number one, and of course, ball security as well as defense. I think defense, that game could have got over ugly and quick versus the Bills when they were down by 3 scores in the wild card round. But they managed to hang around and break it down to a 1-score game and lost that game only by 2 possessions. I mean, at the end of the day. So Arthur Smith right now, I'm really just curious right now how this is going to be a fit right now for Mike Tomlin and his staff. We are talking right now the recapping of the hire of Arthur Smith. We're waiting for it to still be official. It is expected to be like a 3-year signing, according to Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, as he put on his Twitter X content. But speaking of which, too, I think right now, because this, I mean, I was hearing like about a week ago from 93.7 The Fan, Andrew Filipponi, too, that they got her for Smith. They would more than likely have Mike Munchak and a package deal, which obviously did not happen. But I think of anything, too, for right now, this is not a wowing move for me. But for right now, I'll give this grade a B minus for right now until proven otherwise. This higher, I'll give it a B minus because it's going to be anything similar to like what they had with Munchak. Like having that offensive line develop like an attitude right there, quarterback protection right there too. I mean, yeah, I believe too. Until the quarterbacks play continues to improve right now, you need to do a lot better job getting protection at that position, no doubt. I mean, the Steelers, for the most part, I mean, I think they're all, from what we can see, their offensive line has been getting somewhat better. I mean, it all started, I mean, since like 2021, Ben's last season with the Steelers right there. And it's been a long time since they've been doing a good job protecting the quarterback right there. I mean, for the most part, I mean, the last time they've been anywhere near like in the teens or know, just a decent solid number, like I said, was aside from Ben's last year, you have to go back as far as like 4 years ago now, going on the pandemic year. Only 14 sacks allowed, where Ben Roethlisberger got sacked 13 times in that season. Still managed to throw for 4,129 yards in that season. But I mean, they gotta get quarterback protections in order to help like make the quarterback play continue to improve. Kenny Pickett is definitely no doubt about it. I mean, he's pretty much being put on notice here. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and get right into it. So like I said, I'm gonna give this higher Arthur Smith a B minus. But let's go ahead and not be a secret to this topic right here. What's on the spotlight? Art Rooney too. He was talking about being patient with Mike Tomlin as their head coach. But he did express some frustration too in his lack of the playoff win success, with their last win coming no secret since the Chiefs back in 2016. We had enough of this, according to Rooney. It's time to get some wins. It's time to take these next steps. Certainly, there's a resolve and determination there, Rooney said to Tomlin. And I think I said before, I think all of us that have been around for a little while are anxious to take this next step and getting a little impatient. And we need to see the kind of improvement we all want to see. Mike believes that as fair as anybody else in the building. But I mean, at the end of the day, too, he also did say, too, if you didn't think Mike Tomlin had those attributes like what they thought when they hired him, that would not be the case. But to tell you the truth right now, and I'm glad Art Rooney said that. Not that he may have not alluded to it before, but I mean, just to hear him, I mean, just pretty much, I mean, just acknowledge too that, I mean, just these one and dones in the playoffs. Everybody knows. I mean, I don't want to like shade off Mike Tomlin. I mean, we'd be nuts to force a guy out of town like this and have someone else try and come in and do the job that he's done with this roster. No doubt. But I always keep maintaining the argument too about Mike Tomlin. You find a way, what you do, the patchwork job you continue to do with this team, to build it late in the season and to keep them competitive at the expense that you do. I mean, when you make the playoffs or not, which he's been to 11 times in his career, which ranks second as far as head coaches in Steelers history, behind Chuck Noll. I think I don't think that's unreasonable to ask. I mean, people want to keep calling Steelers fans spoiled, like not appreciating like what Mike Tomlin has done. No, I don't think that's the case. I think there are a lot of fans that appreciate what he's done for them, getting them to this point. It just feels like rinse and repeat since their last playoff victory. Just get us one, multiple playoff victories. I mean, if you can, the AFC Championship game, not every year, but I mean, just multiple wins in the playoffs. Because honestly, it's just not making progress. I mean, I just I the only thing I will say too, which is a very sensitive thing to Mike Tomlin, and I apologize for going here. But I mean, he's also was a black head coach. I mean, of course, when you look at today's times that we live in, I mean, for according to a black person, when you're black, it's everything. But especially as it pertains to coaches in this league, a lot of coaches who got screwed around and like struggling to find jobs or have a long, consistent footing in this league. It's been very rare and few in between right there since we've seen that. And you know the Rooney organization, especially Art Rooney, who's inherited this franchise from his father uh, and his grandfather all the years. I mean, how much pride they put in trying to keep the Rooney Rule respectable. But I mean, but still, I mean, it's just very rare guys you see. I mean, the only guys that come to mind who have long stays, you could argue Mike Tomlin, who right now is going into his 18th season. Then you had Tony Dungy for 13 seasons. I mean, combined with Bucks and Colts, but he had more of a longer stay with the Colts than he did the Bucks. He was there for 7 seasons. Marvin Lewis was there for 16 seasons with the Bengals, despite 0 playoff wins. Down the screen, here's another guy right here too. He's been with the Vikings for 9 years, but still after that, or no, 10 seasons. Excuse me, 10 seasons. 10 seasons with the Vikings before having his last ride with the Cardinals. But I mean, still, I think that's a very concern. I think they're trying to be very careful and out of respect too. I mean, they don't want to be foolish enough where if they decide to part ways, as of course as we know, we're very convinced. A lot of us are that he's not going to get fired. That's just not the way the Rooneys do things with coaches. But maybe I mean, the only thing is too. I mean, Brooke Pryor was talking about this with Brian Backo, one of their podcasts with the Post Gazette, and the thing is too, it didn't really sound as firm. I mean, you feel like the momentum of Mike Tomlin getting a contract extension with this team. It doesn't seem as firm as it was in years past, despite Art Rooney acknowledging that. And the only reason why I say that because of the quote that Art Rooney has mentioned there. I mean, it's getting to a point right now. He's a great coach, but again, what have you done for us lately? And I'd be ignorant to think that anyone else could do this job. I'm not sure. But I mean, at the same time, too, I mean, I think what's going to be real interesting if they decide to cross that bridge, they do decide to part ways with Mike Tomlin. How are they going to find that right guy? I mean, because remember, you had Kevin Colbert who assisted Art Rooney as far as interviewing the new GM candidates, who they ultimately decided to go internally and promote Omar Khan to the position. And he's in his going into his third season right now. I mean, with this team having a 19 and 19 and 15 record with this team and a playoff appearance. And there you go. I I mean, I have names, but I mean at the same time, can you see honestly someone like if Mike McCarthy got pushed out the door, Dallas Cowboys come over here with the Steelers? I mean, Mike McCarthy, I think, would be an intriguing guy if they ever decide to cross that bridge. Mike McCarthy, which, by the way, too, he was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I mean, he'd be a true Pittsburgh guy. I mean, I think he's done very well with what he's did recently. When you look at his career, I mean, having worked with a great quarterback in Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, and starting off with Brett Favre for the 2 seasons that they were briefly together, getting as far as the NFC Championship game together. But with Aaron Rodgers, he did win his one and only Super Bowl in 2010, which came at the expense of the Steelers in Super Bowl 45 at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. But I mean, towards the end, we know what happened, how it ended right there, and it definitely was just some bare frustration right there. I mean, you look at with Rodgers and McCarthy right there. I mean, who actually been to the playoffs together 8 times altogether with that with as a duel. And then to see what he's doing with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys right now, I know they had one of their most embarrassing playoff losses to Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. But I mean, you look at Mike McCarthy was done taking over the play calling passes for former offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. The only thing with Mike McCarthy right there, just the way he motivates men, there just seems some players who get rubbed the wrong way, maybe a little distant. But I mean, if we're to cross that bridge, that'd be one guy I'd be thinking of. I mean, and who else? I mean, would be out there? I mean, Jim Harbaugh, that's a little too late. I mean, he's already going to be with the LA Chargers right now. Uh, Congratulations to him returning back to the NFL, which he did last week. He officially agreed to become the Chargers head coach uh, after winning a college football national championship with the Michigan Wolverines. Now he wants to become that fourth coach ever in that elusive category to win a national championship in college football and a Super Bowl. Super Bowl, which is still evading him right there. Of course, no secret. I mean, you got to really think about this right now. I mean, is Mike Tomlin's time nearing as the head coach? I mean, I talked about this with Wesley Euler about a couple years back. Back in July 2021, he kind of felt like it was slowly nearing. But I mean, you really start to see it right now. And I think if anything right now, Mike Tomlin, he's definitely earned the right to try and turn this thing around. I mean, if anything, I will sense that pressure is being put on him, forcing the change in offense coordinator, which Mike Tomlin admitted this was his decision, which I still kind of question a little bit, by the way. Uh, I'm sure him and Art really collaborated, or Art really, you know, put pressure on him off the side, like say, hey, you know what, we can't have this anymore. There's a lot to really think in that regard. I mean, is it true like what Bill Walsh said? Sometimes, coaches should not be in an organization for more than 10 years. I mean, 10 years, usually your seems to get stale. And that's very highly questionable with Mike Tomlin right now. But if you really think about it, 10-year mark after 2016, what happened? I mean, they still made four more playoff appearances and 0-5 in their current playoff win drought. And that's just the bottom line right here. And still defense on average allowing 40 points a game. Mike Tomlin loves coaching football. But I mean, for right now, I'm glad Art Rooney said what he said. Seriously. It's a little relief. I don't want to see this happen to him, but if we got to cross that bridge, gotta make a difficult decision here. But anyway, let's go and hear what Art Rooney had to say also too, as far as the quarterback situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Here's what he had to say when he was talking with Rob King of the Steelers Radio Network.
Well, coaching was a big topic. Quarterbacks was a big topic as well. You had three guys in your quarterback room. You needed them all with injuries. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. How do you assess where that stands right now with the three quarterbacks in the quarterback room heading into this offseason?
Well, I mean, number one, Kenny, I think we still believe in Kenny and think he has room to grow and look forward to, the new coordinator, the new staff coming in and helping him take that next step. And then, Mason came in and showed what he can do and really, I think, was able to show what our offense is capable of and did a great job. And so, I'd love to have Mason back if everything can work out in that way and have some competition at the position. And then, Mitch, we'll just have to see where we go with Mitch and, the other spots that might be available.
Yeah, so there you have it right there. I mean, just Mitch, just interesting how he's allowing him to hang around, see what happens right there. But I like the fact what he just said right there. I mean, see if he could just work with that quarterback room right there. He's not totally throwing the white flag on Kenny Pickett, but I mean at the same time too. I mean, we consider the investments they put up into him. They didn't trade up for this guy. They drafted him 20th overall in the 2022 draft about 2 years ago. They love the fact that he played in the same stadium at the University of Pitt. The pass records they set they broke for Dan Marino's passing yards, touchdowns, and to possibly be their next franchise quarterback to be the heir apparent of Ben Roethlisberger. only time will tell on that. But other than that, as we get closer, I will do starting little by little next week. We got Super Bowl 58 in the Sin City in Vegas. Super Bowl 54 rematch between the Niners versus Chiefs versus Niners in that one, which I predicted here. Dan Campbell, all I just gotta say, you know what? That the two opportunities he had on those fourth and shorts right there in the third and fourth quarter. I think definitely the second uh, missed opportunity to go for a field goal and tie the game was inexcusable. I still don't like the one where they missed going up by 3 possessions, but they passed for it, incomplete. Anyway, do or die right now, but I think it's gonna be a great Super Bowl. But that's gonna do it for this edition here of the Mad Steel Podcast. Once again, you follow me on my Twitter X content at Mad Steel CGR and on Instagram at Mad Steel Nation. So I leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, serious, here we go. Thank you for watching the Mad Steel Podcast with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for all the latest Mad Steel Podcast episodes, feel free to download them on Mixcloud, Anchor.fm, and SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.